Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rutika Malavya, and today we are going to talk about understanding the practical insights of monetization with licensing and brand extensions for the entertainment industry. And today I have a very special guest with me and a very old and dear friend, Rohit Sopti. Rohit Sopti is the co-founder of Brand Monk Licensing, which is a licensing agency, and he's previously worked with YRF, which is Yashraj Films, heading the entire licensing merchandising division. Hi, Rohit, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Superb. So, Rohit, how have you been in this quarantine?
Oh, I've really enjoyed myself. I think it was a good period to unlearn, relearn, and do nothingness in between. So that also helped in understanding, what are we doing and trying to refine our purpose. Obviously, and also connect more with family and connect more with my physical fitness goal. I'm able to, achieve that. Today we ran about 15 kilometers.
Wow. So, how is work treating you? Is any licensing deal happening right now? Are we speaking to a lot of brands regarding that? What is going on in the
So,
industry?
as far as the product licensing, a lot of people are stuck because of the current inventory. So for the regular business, it was kind of a standstill uh, for this period because people were worried there was no shops, only little bit business was happening was online. Some of the business that happened was for the promotional stuff, or for the promotional digital license that happened. But I would say now things will open up now.
So, jumping straight on to entertainment licensing, what is entertainment licensing and what are the categories of it which you can license it out?
So entertainment is one of the biggest categories for licensing globally, and I think in India as well. So entertainment comprise films, celebrities, digital celebs, TV, music, characters into it. So in terms of films, I would say there are hardly 4 or 5 films which made an impact. Couple of films from Bollywood and couple of films from South. That's Rajni sir films that made the impact. So Dhoom 3, Krish, Bahubali, I'll say these are the three top films here. And Rajni sir's last 3 4 films did like Kabali and all that. They made a lot of effort towards that. But nobody has leveraged the past, the gold of the films that we have due to IP issues, due to rights. There are many issues with that. It's not a single entity which owns that right, so it's a little cumbersome process. So I think the film business would have been 2 3 million till date, as far as the licensing business is concerned. The other major part is the celebrity that comes under the entertainment. I think that's the biggest business as far as the entertainment is concerned. That would be more than 75 80% of the business, where some of the celebrities has successfully built their brands, right from HRX to Being Human to some of the other which are building up, which is Skull, Child examples, and various other new age kind of deals with not the regular categories that is building up. The third form is the digital stars. Uh, I think that would be the next big thing because they already have a very niche community and a lot of targeted effort can be done with them. We have seen Bhuvan Bham starting his merchandise, which is targeted. Uh, as I said, a lot of process and thought can be put, and a complete sustainable kind of a business can get developed from there. I believe that's the one category that can grow very well, which is I will say 99.9% completely untapped. Now only 0.1% is tapped. And now these people are thinking because YouTube has changed his algorithms, and
Yeah.
they are also looking at new ways to look at monetization. Other form is music. I think music guys are doing well. So there are obviously a lot of content. There is a lot of experiences that got created, and India is consuming a lot of experiences, which is NH7, Sunburns, and many other format of that. And like we worked with NS7 for 4 5 years, 2 3 years, into look at the merch business for there. So that's other segment which is very interesting. Globally, music stars are doing a lot, right from Lady Gaga to Justin Bieber. I think that's the next thing. From some of our stars will become big, or some of the brands of music will emerge, because a lot of new age people connect with it.
Right.
And last is the character. So we have seen success of Singham as a character. We've seen now Dabang going into kids sphere. So yeah, I think Singham did very well. Discovery Reliance did fabulous job into building it, into marketing it, into getting into kids group very very quickly, and tapping the audience. I think great job done there. So yeah, I think it's just we've not even scratched. It's I will say I think only the celebrity business. I think if you ask me, we would have done about 10%. I think 90% still a lot to be done. There are many categories. There are many celebrities where we can create a good. We all can create a good impact. Rest all is I'll say initial days. It's very very early days.
So there is still scope to grow, and it is going to grow. It is going to be the future, because what I see right now with COVID and the way attracting consumers has become a challenge for a lot of brands. A lot
Mhm.
of brand partnerships or collaborations like this is going to work better for them.
Definitely, because if, like I mentioned, the biggest possibility is right now these digital celebs who already have few million subscribers or few hundreds and thousands of subscribers on their digital channel, on their Facebook, on their social handles. For the new generation, they are their Shah Rukh Khan, right? For us, there was only one Shah Rukh Khan, or there
Yeah,
is one Amir Khan, or one Salman Khan. For them, these are the core audience, which today, if you see new models that has evolved, like crowdfunding, fan funding, their merge thing, these guys interact with them. These guys, they are their core audience already created. So it just need to put a right method, how what you can offer more than the content to this audience. That's what licensing and brand extension is all about.
absolutely. So, Rohit, talking about film merchandising, movie merchandising, we know we haven't seen much of a success in Indian movies or Indian film merchandising as compared to what we've seen internationally. Take it Marvel, DC, any comic movies that come up. Disney comes up with a lot of movies, and they have a huge, merchandise sales, retail sales with attached to it. But when it comes to Indian movies, I think, like you rightly said, Krish, Bahubali, Dhoom 3. I think these are the three movies which I can count on my fingers and say, okay, yeah, this three did outstandingly well in terms of film merchandising, but rest failed miserably. So, what you think are we lacking? Is it design aesthetics being part of the reason that we are not growing that well, or something that producers or a lot of agencies also need to keep in mind when they are doing this kind of partnerships?
I think first is the mindset because everybody thinks, especially in the Bollywood perspective, if I can earn crores, then I will spend my time on that.
Hmm.
Mindset, I will say, of most people, except for YRF where I work, because that was not the mindset. I don't know much about the other guys. So if you have to build a merchandise, obviously fans needs to know the brand. Why it worked for Dhoom, or why it worked for Krish, or why it worked for Bahubali too, because people knew what Doom stands for after two series of Doom, and they know what is coming. And then you are able to build merchandise and associations around it. So I'll say first is the mindset. Uh, you need to think like that. Okay, it's my film, but it's also my brand. It's also my IP. It's also my trademark. And I doing these things will help me obviously getting revenue, and also get me protection in other trademark classes, for example. So like for example, most of these big franchise would have done all 45 classes of trademark as well. So that is one. Second is it builds the business get built. A lot of people doesn't have the patience to do this. They only want to see here. They don't want to see this hard part. So they remain zero. So they always remain to zero. They don't even get to all these films would have done, like all these three films would have done business from $500,000 to over $1 million, which is 2 crores to 7 crore business. All these films have done, which is significant additional revenue with zero cost, right? Plus
Right.
the brand, the consumer got T-shirts, consumer got toys, consumer played games, and millions of people got engaged with the franchise, and it built way for the next thing. Like Krish 4 would be bigger than Krish 3. Doom 4 would be bigger than Doom 3. So yeah, so at these levels, I think that's the fundamental problems, is to understand the mindset, is to build the mindset, then understanding you are building a brand. And third, I think, then start very early. Build it from the script stage. That's the processes we started building while we were working with the production studio. That a script stage we start putting in products. So like that Bajrangi Bhaijaan locket sold very very well because it was placed within the film,
Correct.
right? And that would have sold in lakhs and crores of rupees. Uh, yeah, and then fourth, build in the right way, build with the right process. That's very 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 critical.
Absolutely. And when we come and talk about film merchandising is one aspect of monetizing a film, right?
Mhm.
What are the other mediums that a film can be monetized?
So so there are two sides. So one, I will say, there is a regular content side, and then there is a non-content, which is which is product and experience. So there are three sides to any monetization, which is content, product, and experience. So in terms of content for the films, obviously there is a full film monetization that happens with theaters, that happens with satellite TV channels, Sony Star buys. The second form happens with the shorter form of content, which is music clips, which is bought by music channels, news channels. They buy that. Then there are platforms, obviously PPV. Then there are airlines. Then there is cable, free TV. All these rights go Indian and international. And then yeah, so these are some of, and then there is YouTube, which is user generated. You put the music, complete digital side of that, where music and everything goes. So this the film side contributes to about, for studios now, which have regular spree of films, 70% revenue comes from full film, and 30% comes from these ancillary rights. Ancillary means music and short form business. And then obviously comes the licensing, merchandising, and the brand extension. So there can be gaming, there can be a fashion extension, there can be an experiences, there can be cafes, there like many other streams that can come, which is toys and all, depending on how you have positioned the.
Right. So, when we are talking about positioning of a film and further monetizing a film or any content for that matter,
Yeah.
what are the kind of royalties or licensing agreements that we need to keep in a mind? Or who owns the ownership of the entire film? Is it with the producer? Is it with the director, the writer? Who owns the rights in the end?
So it is depends on the studio. Depending on how you have structured, there is no one formula who owns the right. Depending on who is the director and who is the producer and who is investing money. These can be different scenarios. Based on that, there are different percentages to each formula. But there are stable, like YRF owns all the IP, for example, for all their content. Dharma always do collaboration with stuff. Red Chilies in most cases own their IP, whatever they create. Foxstar, mostly when they invest money, they take it for a very, very long term. But it's a very open thing depending on who is the producer. If Mr. Sanjay Leela Bansali is directing, they would have a different kind of arrangements and all that. So yeah, then this very is all structured through that producer, director, financer agreement, who owns and controls the right.
Absolutely. So now, mean is, we spoke about that, whether it's producers or directors who owns the IP then gets the licensing bit. But I've seen a lot of movie and content that agency, when they're doing the deals, like for example, let's just take Chota Beam for that matter.
Hmm.
Chota Beam's the IP rights are with Chota Beam guys and with the Pogo, right?
Mhm.
So when they create a merchandise, then how do you decide that who will take a merchandising rights? Do we really need to keep in mind that we involve the clause of merchandising and licensing in the agreement beforehand of even starting off with a film shooting, or how is it?
So Chota Bheem guys were very smart. They retain all the merchandise, right? That's why Green Gold built the whole business, and because initially there was a struggle for any other new content to get commission, and I think that would be contributing about 30 to 40% of all Chota Bheem revenue today, if not, yeah, that would be the range. So it depends now, but most of the TV channels now today they take syndication and they want to control the IP, and most of the TV channels now are developing their own concepts where they just commission the animation studio with just production of the content, right from the script and characters and everything. They're developing with their in-house creative teams, which is kind of a new prevalent model. Very less business you will see where some animation studios have created content and it's going. So yeah, so these new age things are coming up, and it depends on the IP, it depends on the pull, it depends on the animation studio, their past performance. Is also depends on the channel if it's new. So it depends on a lot of permutation combinations as well.
Absolutely. So, tell me more about monetizing a content that you create. Film is the go-to thing that you release it in a theater. But now,
Mhm.
with because the scenarios are changing, we are welcoming into a new world altogether where we are going to practice social distancing for quite some time.
Mhm.
We have to wear a mask. So there's this new way of life that is going to begin post-COVID. So, how do you deal with this kind of scenarios? What kind of deals do we see in the current industry where it is growing? Because I see Disney also launched multiplexes, right? So now business of multiplexes are going at a standby. So how is a producer or a director have to decide that whether to opt for a OTT platform or to wait for a theater release?
So obviously, it will decided by the script. I think that's the story that you are going to tell, and in most of the cases, it's a big picture story, or it's a story for the digital platform. Big studios will continue to make films. Obviously, it will take all of us time to go back, but theaters are making promising efforts like Ditto and PVR tie-up that has happened. So they are trying all that the people should come back as soon as Diwali or before the New Year. That people should start coming back to that. I think it will be driven by the story, and where you are, because of this COVID, not too many shootings would happen. All this would get very very restricted. So people will see, okay, what is my story, where I'm telling, and most of the guys are clear from the ground zero. Okay, this is the script that I'm going to make for the big film, and this is the script I'm going for the digital platform. Habit thing would have happened, and what Hotstar had done with Dil Bechara, and I was seeing the numbers about there were 2 million, close to 2 million new downloads happen
Yes.
because of the free availability of the film, and everybody wants to watch that film,
Yeah.
and because of that issue.
Yeah. So I think it also plays a very important role to hit the right note at the right time. Uh, that's what I think Mukesh Habra also did and Hotstar did to launch a film right when the sentiment of Sushant was on, and that's the time to give it as a and as a tribute. They did it as a more like based on emotions, where they offered free viewing of of the film rather than putting it in a VIP segment or a premium segment and getting more subscriber base. I think that was a
Right.
very smart move by the marketing team, and a very bold move, in fact, because otherwise a lot of other platform would have monetized it first on the entire emotions. But this Hotstar team did outstandingly well, where they played on an emotions and eventually got the subscribers.
Right.
Coming back on a entire thing, if I have to start with the content, how do we get started?
With a licensing program, obviously, to start with, you need to have a brand, right? So what I mean by brand is there are two important things here. One is on the legal side, that you need to have a clear trademark, you need to have a clear copyright or patent in terms of technology, and you need to have a dedicated fan audience. These are the two critical factors, which a brand stands for. And the bigger this addressable audience is, the bigger this audience is the bigger can be the licensing program. So, for example, first you need to understand what my brand stands for. Like, what in case of HRX, they understood Ritik stands for fitness. Ritik stands for overcoming the limit. Uh, so that's what the core is, and that's what the core of HRX, which makes it one of the most successful brands today, which will be clocking 3 4 close to about 400 crore sales this year, which is huge. Second is then what is the readiness? That what I'm going to readiness means what is my system, how the approval flow will happen, how the IP process will happen. Are we going to do it ourselves? Do we need outside support? If we need, for what we need the outside support? Who is going to do the legal side of it? Who is going to create the creative side of it? There are many sides to this business. And who is going to negotiate, who are going to service, who are going to do the audit reporting and all that would come in. Once you set the objectives and say, okay, this is what we are going to do, and we are kind of ready, then you do a market research. You can do it yourself. Like in most of the cases, what we do surveys ourselves. We are on team and we speak to about 500-600 people in a span of a week. And when you speak to yourself with the audience, you understand it more. So I was reading somewhere, Nike doesn't do any official research till now. They have people who go on ground at events, at various spaces in retail, and they just listen uh, to their fans. And I think speaking with audience is very, very critical. That's part of design thinking process as well globally. Is to what your audience is saying about your brand, and you can have very intelligent question into understanding what they can do and what they can't do. And then is the decision making. Okay, this is the scale. This is what the audience is saying. This is what we can do. And for example, if you're a corporate brand or something, okay, if I'm selling fashion, okay, I can do, suppose if I'm a formal wear, I can look at doing a smart wearable watch, I can look at doing a perfume, I can look at doing a business lounge, or something. Okay, this is you say, okay, these are the 3 4 categories we'll deep dive into. Then you understand these categories. So if you say, I want to create a smart wearable watch, you will say, who are the players? You will understand that category. Where is the gap? What my audience and this gap will fit in. Like, for example, in case of HRX, there was Nike, Adidas, Reebok, Puma. And then there were local brands. There was nobody in between. So they come exactly in between. That was the positioning. And it was, they were able to they're getting the market share very, 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 very quickly. And then setting the licensing process, which is very, very, very important. We have next slide also towards it, which will select how a complete licensing process happens. Then obviously you select few of the licensee, you approach licensee with go understand what you are doing, and then there should be a complete process towards it. It's the filtration process, and a lot of people use numbering these days globally. Okay, how this is how we will select it. Once the licensee comes in, we need to share our style guide. Style guide comprise of our brand guidelines, our creative guidelines, all the do's and don'ts, and the latest collection, which for the next year, for this year that is coming, so that it becomes a ready reckoner for the licensee to look at. And based on that, then you mutually decide the positioning. You will have your thoughts obviously on the positioning, like you have decided. You will sync up with the licensee. Obviously you have selected the licensee based on the positioning, but you align the objectives there. Okay, this is what we should be doing, closing the business plan and understanding the aligning with the seasonality. If you are DO, will it work better if you launch in summer, and so on and so forth. Then you launch, market, do promotions. I will highly recommend brand owners to think about it from ground zero. Is to since two important thing is brand and the legal part, is to promote the licensed product within your community as well. And the last bit is then setting the process of royalty and the reporting. So if you follow this, and it will go to the next slide, which is this process. This process, I've been following this process. It was originally created by Pete Canalicchio, and I saw it on a Medium blog few years back. I personally like this very, 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 very well. Is to identify where to play. That's what he says. Okay, this is where I'm playing. How I'm going to win it. What is my winning strategy? It's not that कि यार मुझे license करना है and I will do it. It will not going to work. It needs to have a focus. You need to be very, very, very clear on what we are going to do. Then he says prospect licensee, perform due diligence, defining the licensing opportunity, negotiate, conduct orientation. Orientation is also a very critical step. This is a step where you collaborate with the licensee deeply. Is to understanding why they have taken the license and what's their objective. If for a manufacturer, his objective might be to go into modern retail. Can you help him in that process? Is and also telling him all the do's and don'ts of your brands, so that all the expectation setting happens there, and then establish a meaning. Normally, from his time, that's how the process works. Now, this all process happens within 3 to 4 months. With the digital and all that, the speed is created, and all this can be converted within a span of 3 months. But that's how he says the process should flow. He has put in a very beautiful chart on saying how that.
So coming back on a lot of OTT content, you've explained how to get started, what would be the framework, what would be the licensing process. But we have still a lot of doubts when it comes to uh, going through the process of monetizing and thinking about a content monetization from day one. That's some mindset that we really need to change in a lot of content creators, because they don't think monetization from day one. Or if they have to think, they think specifically when it comes to content. They think, okay, मैंने YouTube पे डाला या मैंने OTT पे डाला, what would OTT platform pay me? What would be the royalties? What will be the agreements? So, what are your takes on this, and what do you want to tell these people who are, all the professionals that are creating content to look for when they get into the creation of anything from the day one?
So I think the people who are starting up, they need to build their audience. They need to build their brand, and the best medium for that is go to YouTube, because that's where you build. Most of the guys, like if you look at AIV example, obviously everything was created from the YouTube. Then they built the community with the live shows and live events, and then they went to OTT, right? So first garner your audience, and for the guys who are digital creators, who are probably short form creators, do that. For the guys who are looking at creating long form, I think the process become very easy, and there is a lot of demand for content creators these days. Is go with your concept to the OTT players, and they are looking for good stuff. And good thing is there are many OTT players now in India now, and everyone has their own way of selection criterias and all that. But I think it's very transparent in most of the cases. First of all, for the content creators, um, if you are sure of your big thing, go to the OTT. If you think no, it is time, start building so that people start recognizing you through YouTube. You can crowdfund it, you can fan fund it. Initially, you can do brand films, or every brand wants to do their film, and you can get that message across. Look at the Fevicol ads, or these guys. If you make such stuff, people will notice you. Agencies will notice you. These OTT platforms will notice you. So yeah, I think you need to get it out there, express yourself, start expressing in the short form, medium form, and because long form is also a lot of bet on you for people to invest money on that. For that, some credential needs to get proven, but some people get lucky as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the format that get built in. That's why a lot of people go to ad agencies. They start building. They understand how the process works. They understand how the production, scripting, story, and everything happens. Storyboarding happens, and then they become a very good content, full film, long form content filmmakers.
Correct. And when we talk about even merchandising on that end, we've seen movies merchandising, but we haven't seen much in terms of any OTT content getting into merchandise. I think the last OTT content I saw getting into merchandise was Money Heist, where they had this mask and
Yeah,
then there's this dolls of the main guy, and there were masks all around and everything. So,
that's a
is it still
good question.
unexplored sector, right?
Yeah, completely. I think Netflix Stranger Things did well internationally.
Yes.
Uh, and I think Netflix is establishing their licensing process. There's a guy from Disney, I think, joined them last year. I think they have come till Japan. They have not came to India as of now, but I'm sure within 2021, India would they will start working on this market. In case of other guys, I think it's for the rights, who own the rights and all that. It's a full commission
Hmm.
from that. Market is going to build up for that. I think in next 1 or 2 years. But it's early days. The only best thing I saw was Stranger Thing when I went to US. I went to Europe. I
Yes.
see amazing collabs, especially with few of the brands that happened. Money Heist was very is very popular in India. Its merchandise is going to sell a lot. I am a huge fan. I saw all the series.
Same here.
Uh,
Absolutely. Coming to an end of the entire session, what is the one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing licensing deals or monetizing your content or product for that matter in the entertainment industry?
First thing, I'll say a couple of things. First thing is know what you're selling. Is to understand what's the strength of your brand, right, and where you are in the journey. What's the potential by looking at other stuff? It's easy. Third is start making progress. Speak to people, and I think people today are very open in terms of sharing their thoughts. They all believe in collaboration. Most of us believe in collaboration. And see how you can build your audience, how you can reach to more people by way of content, by way of products, by way of creating the experiences, which will be a win-win equation for the brand, for the consumer, and for the people who are taking the license. Right? You need to think of that win-win situation for all the three stakeholders. And if you're able to do that, and that's how any businesses get built, and especially in this licensing domain, and a lot can be done. So yeah, it's just need right application.
So I think licensing business completely boils down to one is knowing your IP well, knowing your audiences well, and then utilizing your content in a way that it attracts and gives you monetization in return.
Yeah, I will say then where you are, because you knowing your audience, know your own content, then you might not have done anything, right? Your content would not have released. So where you are at that journey of that monetization journey, you are at point 1 or point 20,000. Where you are and what you can do from there, you need to start building. And whatever point you are, there would be other people how they have built. Just
Right.
understand from the people, and I think it's very easy today. It's a licensing is the most common sense business. It's not a rocket science business.
Absolutely.
Um, Build from the right framework, success is guaranteed. There is no doubt about it.
Thank you so much, Rohit. It has been
Thank you
always
very
been a
much.
pleasure to
Yeah,
speak with
same here.
you and learn new things.
Yeah.
So, guys, I hope you liked the interview with Rohit. As you rightly heard him speaking, that licensing is fairly new in India. It is still growing. We've not even scratched 20-30% of it. So, it is a new industry. It has a huge scope. That can monetize your brand 10x times, right? So get into this licensing business. Understand it's no rocket science, like you rightly said. It is very simple business than any other business that you could think of and do off with results coming from day one. And that's why I love this industry so much. And you could do collaborations, you could do partnerships, you could extend your brand, you could come up with multiple product categories. So just follow the licensing process work which is there mentioned in. If you're still confused and you still have no idea, hit the subscribe button and the bell button. Still confused and you don't know where to go about it, Just write it in a comment below or send me an email and we will help you with a 45-minute call. I am doing this specifically for the YouTube subscribers and I'm doing this for my YouTube audience, and that is I'm doing a 45 minutes free consulting call on Zoom with you for your brand, talking about the challenges you are facing, talking about how you could monetize your brand and then leverage it to the 10x growth method. So that's it for today, guys. If you really like our content, please subscribe for my YouTube channel and share it with the people whom you think is this going to help. And the more we help more people, the better it is for us and for them to grow in these trying times. That's it for today, and I'll see you soon next week with a new type of licensing deal and some of the other fun candid chats with our guests. So take care. Bye.